Hello and welcome to Working Lunch, the SLO Chambers weekly series where we get to sit down with our community leaders and bring back some of that connection we've been missing during these challenging COVID times and maybe get to learn some new things. I'm Jim D'Antona, President and CEO of the SLO Chamber, and today you'll get a peek into the part of my conversation with co-founder and CEO of SLO's first cannabis retailer, Megan Souza. Born on her grandparents' dairy farm and raised working in her parents' retail store in Pismo and Grover Beach, Megan has agriculture, business, and entrepreneurship in her DNA. With degrees from UC Santa Cruz and UCLA, she has co-founded 4 businesses in the hemp and cannabis space. Megan's CBD Market hemp retail store, Megan's Organic Market, a Prop 215 cannabis retail delivery service, the Red Truck Cannabis Company, one of only 6 licensed cannabis cultivation operations in SLO County, and most recently, Megan's Organic Market, Prop 64 storefront dispensary, the first dispensary in SLO. She's a local industry leader, serving as the Vice President of Central Coast Cannabis Council and as a member of the Poly Hemp Industry Advisory Committee. I'm really looking forward to talking with Megan about her new store, the signature branding, and how she got her start in the industry. Thank you so much for being here, Megan.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Jim. I'm so glad to be here. I really miss all of the chamber events and the chamber people. COVID has been kind of lonely in that way. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's why we have to do these, at least getting some connection back. So appreciate you doing this. And we'll kick it off real quick with one we always start with as we sit down to lunch. First and foremost, where are you zooming in from and what are you having for lunch?
So I'm zooming in from my house. I live on Hathaway near Sierra Vista Hospital, and SLO Chamber, I'm stoked to say, bought me lunch from High Street Deli, my favorite turkey avocado sandwich. Thank you guys. High Street Deli is just right up the street from our dispensary in the SoHi district, as people are calling that, South Higuera High Street zone.
That is, it's awesome, and I do enjoy the joy and fun that the cannabis industry has with all of it does. So we obviously invited you here because you just opened the historical first legal cannabis retail store in SLO, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I wanted to start from the beginning, as it were. How did you get into the cannabis business, and when did you know this was what you wanted to do?
So I got into the cannabis business, starting with cultivation. My partner, Eric, and I started with farming, and it was just a side business at first. We were cultivating at our, in Cayucas at our little farm and retailing wholesale to other dispensaries, mostly in Southern California. And it was when I was wanting to drop out of a master's program at Cal Poly that I was in, that I started the retail component of our business. And it was just not at all what I expected it to be. And I would say the time that I knew that it was what I wanted to pursue in a serious lifelong career way is when it transitioned from being about retailing cannabis to being about influencing regulations and participating in local government in a more serious and direct way. And that's what I had no idea that would be something that I would be interested in, but it turned out to be the case.
It's kind of exciting. That's our job here too. And we love doing it too. So we're glad that you're working on those things. And, you know, it's been interesting. Obviously we've been in touch with you as you've grown and built your brand, but you've always had such a distinct brand. What inspired your vision for Megan's Organic Market?
Well, I would say what inspired it was a desire to just come out of the shadows, both personally as a cannabis user and cannabis business operator, and also I just wanted to normalize cannabis use as much as possible, because that's a helicopter. I live really close to Sierra Vista Hospital, so there may be an occasional helicopter here and there, but it's the life-saving kind of helicopter. So a desire to normalize cannabis use and make it more approachable to people who really needed it as medicine, I would say, is what birthed our unique branding. And that branding is defined, I think, by wholesomeness and approachability.
And I'll say that that is a huge piece, and of what I've seen is that it sometimes feels like it's difficult for folks maybe who haven't had experience in this to approach it, and it feels like you have to know or else you're going to be made fun of. So I think it's in that kind of way you're doing it. Have you found that it's welcomed and that helps to your retail piece?
Absolutely. Yes, people are really excited to, well, it started with our Proposition 215 retail delivery service. And that retail model is really different because it's, we go into people's homes, and it's a very intimate kind of experience. People, we get to know people's pets and families and everything about their health conditions. And now we are a storefront dispensary in downtown SLO, and people come to us. And in both situations, we do a lot of introducing people to cannabis for the very first time. So a lot of education and a lot of demystifying, and a lot of like addressing incorrect assumptions about what cannabis is and what's available and how it should be used and can be used. And yeah, so we have a lot of first-time cannabis users and new cannabis users, which is not at all what we expected when we started the business.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And so you've now been open at the intersection of High and South Figueroa, as you were talking about, for a few weeks. What's it been like to actually finally be in that space? Because it's been a long time coming, right?
Yeah, it's been such a long time coming, and it's been awesome to be in that space. We've done something. We turned a pretty rough looking old building, kind of a blight for the little local area, into something really beautiful, in my opinion. And it's going to get more beautiful as the weeks go on. We have an amazing mural coming and some more awesome signage and awnings and stuff. But some of the most interesting developments, I guess, since we've been a storefront, is getting to see just new products that have recently become available to the retail market, including cannabinoids that weren't previously available, like CBN and CBG and THCV and THCA and all of these interesting non-psychoactive and less psychoactive cannabinoids that people are seeking nowadays. And then another interesting thing is just the trends. It's surprising to learn that there are people lined up before we open at 9 a.m. I never would have thought that people would be wanting to buy cannabis at 9 a.m., but they do. So definitely our busiest times are right when we open and right before we close.
That's so interesting. There is the stereotype of the cannabis user who might not get up before noon, but so maybe it has something to do, obviously, maybe with the type of customers you're serving. Who are your customers? How's that different from what you expected?
So when we first started our delivery service way back in 2013, we thought that our clientele would be Cal Poly students, would be, young people who were seeking cannabis for recreational purposes mostly. That was not at all the case. It was mostly seniors, mostly people 60 and up who were seeking cannabis for relief from arthritis pain, insomnia, stress, or more serious things like cancer and like serious pain relief. And then when we started our storefront, because we're the first storefront in SLO, we have the entire gamut of cannabis users, young people, older people, sick people, people using it recreationally. But we definitely still see more people seeking low dose, non-psychoactive cannabis products for pain relief or sleep. So definitely more medical users, definitely more seniors, and definitely more women than most storefront retailers get as clienteles, I think.
Well, it's really interesting, and it's as you and I have talked a little bit before, it's really interesting as you were talking about the things that have come to different cannabinoids. I'll let you say it, and that haven't existed before, and where we're doing more research. So are you finding folks as customers come in who are looking for those specific new pieces? Like, is the customer getting really educated now on what's out there and some of this, specialties.
Yeah. So that is something that was not the case before. There just was not a lot of research on cannabis, unfortunately, because it wasn't legal in the United States, at least, to do research for so long. And in my previous experience with our Prop 215 delivery service, so much of the time we were people's very first introduction to the word cannabis, to the concept of cannabinoids, to the fact of an endocannabinoid system. But now with our storefront and just the availability of information and the amount of new research that's available, we have people who walk in who are looking to say, I'm looking for a low dose CBG product to help regulate my glucose level. Or I'm looking for a THCV product that is minimally psychoactive and helps me focus at work. I'm shocked at how knowledgeable people are nowadays.
And I think it's so interesting as you do this, and this area is obviously very familiar with its wine industry, and where people are coming and tourists are coming specifically for types of products. Do you see this as a part of the cannabis industry long term, as a kind of that cannabis tourism?
Yeah, absolutely. Cannabis tourism, I believe, is the future of SLO for sure, or a cannabis and wine tourism together cooperatively, hopefully. And a big piece of that puzzle, though, is the cultivation component. We only have had one local brand of locally cultivated cannabis flower on our shelves so far. We bought everything that was available, and it sold out in less than a week. We need more of that. People want locally produced cannabis products, and right now our regulations aren't extremely conducive to that. But starting in January, the state will be creating an appellations of origin program for the cannabis industry, which will be modeled after the AVAs for wine, and I think that will hopefully that will go a long way to promoting and supporting local cannabis cultivation in SLO County.
Well, and as we kind of talk about that, I mean, that was one of the things you mentioned very early in the start, like that was where in the kind of growing. So do you have a passion for growing, not just the retail, and kind of what drives your interest in that cultivation piece?
Honestly, I am not the farmer. I do not have a green thumb. I struggle. I don't know what this, a fig tree, a tropical plant here. It's struggling to survive. My partner, Eric, is the farmer, the green thumb. For me, the interest in cultivation is just the whole picture of the supply chain and just how it fits into like the foundation of the industry as a whole. But it's my partner, Eric, who we've been partners in life and business for, it'll be 10 years next month, I think. And he's the farmer. So we started with farming, and if it wasn't cannabis, it would have been apples for hard cider or specialty citrus or something else. So farming always was our destiny because Eric is a farmer.
Wow, congratulations to be able to do work and personal together. I know, I'm not sure my wife could handle that. So managing through some of those complexities must be difficult. How do you kind of balance those two? Are the two separate enough in the work area that you can manage all of that?
Honestly, Eric and I, his mom and his dad also are entrepreneurs. So we always knew that we wanted to start a business together. And really the original goal of starting a business together is so that we could spend more time together, so that we could work and live together. And I don't know, I just love him so much. We've been together for 10 years and it hasn't faded yet. And it's honestly, at the moment, I've been having to focus more on the dispensary development, and he's been having to focus more on the cultivation development. And we definitely miss being able to work together all day, every day. I realize that's atypical.
Yeah, well, I mean, actually, that's an interesting kind of a segue. As you know, obviously, as the CEO of a cannabis business, what does your typical day look like? Is it closer to that of any other retail store, or what, or more like what people might see in a movie? Oh,
Definitely nothing like what people would see in a movie. I definitely have a lot of people asking like, how did you get into this industry? It's so cool. Oh my God, I want to do what you do. But it's just like any other business. It's just, paperwork and navigating regulations, and it's not very sexy at all. It's, I mean, definitely the actual like being in the storefront dispensary is a really special kind of energy, and that's really fun. But the actual like running of the business, the back of the house stuff is just, I just spend my entire life writing emails basically.
I'm familiar with that. But so as part of it, there's got to be obviously some interesting things, as I'm sure a clothing retailer loves looking at the new fashion and stuff. What's your favorite part of running your business?
Oh, definitely. I've been working as the purchasing manager so far for the dispensary. And definitely doing the buying is really, really fun. Seeing what's out there, having the vendors come and do educational demos and presentations is really, really fun. And of course, discounts on the cannabis product is pretty nice. But yeah, just seeing what's out there, and also identifying gaps in the market, and what products are available has been a nice little side benefit. We're working on starting some in-house brands to fill some of those gaps that we've noticed. But yeah, being able to be the first one to see the upcoming stuff is definitely sort of fun and exciting.
Okay, well, let's dig into a little bit. Is there anything? So, is there, what kind of innovation is happening in the industry? Is it mostly on the plant side? Is it how the products are being done, or are there any products on the cusp here of being super popular that you would think is the next big thing?
Yes. So many innovations, so many next big things coming to the cannabis industry. Every day I'm blown away to discover like a new type of product that's available, a whole new product category. Right now we're finding beverages, infused beverages are really popular. People are really liking them as an alternative to alcohol. It definitely helps folks reduce their alcohol consumption, and it's been really popular with the like day wine drinking crowd, like my mom and her friends come and get the sparkling. There's a company called Canned, and they make sparkling beverages that are just 2 milligrams of THC and 4 milligrams of CBD. Those are one of our most popular products. And then some other really innovative and interesting things coming down the line are those the new cannabinoid products. CBG is a lot of customers are asking about CBG who have diabetes and also like gut problems. And then THCV products are another an exciting new line of things coming out. And then also fancy culinary products, like things to cook with. We have infused sriracha and infused olive oil and some sort of fun cooking ingredients.
Wow, that sounds pretty fun. Again, it must be interesting being on the front line there and getting to see these things come to fruition. And so, just kind of going back to our conversation on, traditional agriculture. I think you said a little bit, and this probably fits into your discussion of, your advocacy. The grow in SLO County has been limited. And it sometimes, people don't see it as a traditional agriculture. Do you, people, as I might compare it to wine, do you find that to be a helpful metaphor, or are there some ways it might be kind of misleading?
Comparing cannabis to wine I suppose it's helpful insofar as I think that the wine industry had a similar battle to become accepted, particularly here in SLO County. So in a similar way, we face opposition, and in a similar way, you know, cultivating wine, at least when it was first, you know, taking its foothold here in SLO County, was more profitable than some other row crops. So I think some of those traditional row crop farmers felt some animosity probably toward the incoming wine grape growers. And similarly with cannabis. Cannabis is one of the very few things that you can grow, you know, 3 acres of on a small family farm and be profitable. So I think that some people are afraid of cannabis pushing out traditional ag because of that reason. And then one other main conflict with traditional ag is overspraying. Cannabis is extremely, it's subjected to a lot of testing, so we can't use any pesticides. We have to grow, or any inorganic pesticides. And if neighboring farmers overspray their pesticides onto cannabis, they could be liable for crop loss if that cannabis doesn't pass testing. And so that is definitely a concern that some avocado farmers in particular have, who consistently overspray. And it's a tricky situation because we want avocados to be affordable and available, but we also want cannabis to be safe and grown organically and also available. So we have to find ways to work together cooperatively and harmoniously, and I definitely believe that we can do that.
And so I think one of the interesting questions that kind of comes up from that is, you know, some folks will say, well, can't you just grow indoors? And do you have a thought about growing it indoors?
I do. It's definitely not environmentally friendly. It takes a lot of energy inputs to grow under lights, whereas, you know, sunshine is free. And significantly, our commitment is to growing in the native soil, in the ground, you know, under full sun. And doing so, we get the influence of the terroir, of the native climate, the native soil, and that's what we are. That's the direction that cannabis is going, in my opinion, is more toward wine. People care about how it's grown, where it's grown, and the influences of that unique climate to how the final product comes out.
Very interesting.
When you grow indoors, you don't get any of that.
Right. Well, I guess that makes sense in terms of ventilating and air production and, you know, lights and all the energy. And so
imported soil, controlled climate, it's just a different kind of a thing.
Very interesting. So I know that you also, you know, besides your, you know, grow and the cultivation you're doing and the storefront here in SLO, you also have a CBD store in Morro Bay. You know, what's the major difference between cannabis and hemp or CBD?
Okay. Yeah. So the difference is a legal difference. So in California, hemp is cannabis, or in the United States, actually, hemp is cannabis with 0.3% THC or less. And the main difference is that hemp is not heavily regulated or heavily taxed, whereas cannabis is tracked from seed all the way to sale, and it is taxed at multiple points along that process. And so it's really expensive and time consuming to acquire a permit to cultivate or manufacture or distribute or process or retail cannabis. Doing so for hemp, not as expensive or challenging.
And then, so hemp produces, you produce CBD from the hemp?
So both hemp and cannabis produce CBD. So you can, in our dispensary, we sell THC-free only CBD products, but they're produced from cannabis, which was tracked and traced and taxed. We sell the same THC-free CBD only products in our CBD store in Morro Bay, but not taxed, not tracked and traced in the same way. So you don't have to pay the excise tax if you purchase your CBD products from Megan's CBD Market.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. So as we were talking a little earlier this week, you mentioned that you saw some definite advantages to being the first kind of cannabis retailer in SLO, and definitely seemed to have a strong entrepreneurial spirit. Can you share a little of your perspective and experience being the kind of local pioneer into this space and what went well or didn't?
Yeah, for sure. As far as being the first storefront in SLO, definitely, first to market is always an advantage. Once people, as the only store, they come to us. Once they come to us, we like to think they will always keep coming back because we offer a pretty unique experience. And also being the first means that we get to set the scene, set the tone of what cannabis retail in SLO could and should and will be like, and that's a privilege and a responsibility. And I think we're doing it pretty well, and we have some more exciting things to come, I'm pleased to say, over the coming months. So even if you've been to our dispensary already, do keep coming back because it's going to get more and more awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems I just seen the initial stuff that's come out and the way your store's set up. It really is fabulous. So actually, I did want to ask, what does the future have in store for Megan's Organic Market, and what do you hope to be doing in like a year or two from now?
A year or two from now, I hope to be opening up a dispensary in Paso Robles and Morro Bay and some cities outside of the county, hopefully Santa Barbara County and Fresno. So pursuing more dispensary permits is definitely on the immediate agenda. And it's the part that really excites me. It's the going to these different cities and counties and like getting to know their processes and their decision makers and like seeing how we can make ourselves fit in with these different communities and write community benefit plans for these different areas and stuff.
Yeah, and certainly with your, as it becomes a actual place that people can visit and see what goes into it, hopefully that will tear down the wall of how scary it is, right?
Yes, absolutely. We are doing our best to normalize the cannabis retail experience by making it just like a regular store. So it doesn't look like a dispensary or feel like a dispensary. There is a security guard out front only because that state law requires that there be one. But beyond that, you walk in, you pick up a shopping basket and just walk around and put stuff in your shopping cart and walk up to the counter and check out. It's just like a regular experience. Normalization of cannabis use and cannabis retail and cannabis business is definitely our goal.
And so in kind of this, more personal for you, just wondering, in all that's going on right now, is there someone you're especially grateful for, or someone who's really shown up and made a difference for you?
Yeah, my partner, Eric. Oh, I'll cry a little as I say, he's just the best. It was really his idea to start cannabis in the first place. He's the cultivator. He started the farm. And touched a little bit. Being able to, we've done a lot of like leveling up together as we've been growing over these 10 years in this cannabis space for sure.
That's fabulous. I mean, it's so great to see that you both have that passion. And again, I'm sure there were lots of hard times getting through this because government is not easy, even when you're doing things they know of, let alone changes like this. So that's so awesome to hear. So I can't believe we're already a half hour has gone by so quickly, but I do want to end with kind of a question we always throw out. And what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Ooh, so this weekend I have a meeting on Sunday with a filmmaker. We're going to talk about pursuing a grant opportunity to make a documentary about the history of cannabis in California, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Very cool. Well, we'll have to have you back if you get that thing down the road too. So Megan, thank you so much for being with us today. If folks want to find you on the internet or your store, where can they find you?
meganslo.com, and that's also our social media handle, MEGANSSLO. And you can find us physically at the corner of High and Higuera Street, 280 South Higuera.
In the Soho district. Love it. Thank you so much for being here, Megan. And thank you so much for all of you watching and eating lunch with us. We hope to see you next week when we're joined by Josh Herring with Mountain Air to get an inside scoop on local retail, the shift in recreation due to COVID to the outdoors, and maybe get some tips for the long weekend. If you have an idea for future Working Lunch guest or someone you want to learn more about, send us an email at SLO Chamber. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay healthy out there.